Research in the field of positive psychology reveals a fascinating pattern. Our sense of control over our lives is directly linked to how happy we feel. The decisive factor isn't the number of problems or difficulties we face, but our ability to consciously respond to them and make informed decisions. This ability can be developed like a muscle. The more we train it, the stronger it becomes. Our life is like a ship in the ocean. The waves and winds are circumstances that we can't always control. However, it's up to us whether we'll just drift with the current or take the helm and chart our own course. During storms, many people give up and let the waves take them wherever. Others, even in the toughest conditions, keep their course, making slight adjustments but never losing sight of their ultimate goal. Fortunately, modern psychology offers us reliable tools for navigating this journey of life. Welcome to the Nucleus Animi channel, where we explore the depths of the human psyche and find practical solutions for personal growth. Today, we'll talk about turning feelings of frustration and helplessness into a sense of control over your life. In this video, you'll get a step-by-step guide based on the latest research in psychology and neurobiology, backed by real examples of successful transformations. These methods are successfully used by people worldwide, and today we'll break down each one in detail. If you're interested in personal development and want to regularly receive proven tools for improving your quality of life, join our community. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Now let's begin our journey toward the life you truly want to live. Step 1. Awareness and acceptance of the current situation. The most important thing at the start of any change is to honestly assess your current position. It's like a GPS. To plot a route to your destination, the system must accurately determine your current coordinates. Without this starting point, even the most advanced navigator would be useless. Similarly, in life, without a clear understanding of your position, any attempts at change risk becoming aimless wandering. In this context, it's crucial to understand the difference between awareness of a situation and its evaluation. Awareness is the pure perception of facts, like a snapshot of a moment. Evaluation is our emotional and mental reaction to those facts. Often, the mixing of these two processes prevents us from seeing the situation clearly. Psychologists note an interesting pattern. People who regularly take time for honest self-assessment achieve their goals much faster. When we clearly see our current situation, we notice opportunities we previously overlooked. We begin to better understand the true causes of our dissatisfaction and can outline specific steps for moving forward. It's like restoring an old painting. First, the restorer must carefully study the current condition of the canvas, where cracks have appeared, which areas have faded, what remains untouched by time. Only after such a detailed analysis can they create a restoration plan and begin work. Similarly, in life, an honest assessment of the current situation is the foundation on which all further change is built. One of the most effective tools for such an assessment is the Wheel of Life balance. Imagine a circle divided into 8 parts, each reflecting an important area of life. In career, we evaluate not just income, but also professional fulfillment, growth opportunities, and satisfaction from the work process itself. In health, it's important to consider physical activity, sleep quality, nutrition, energy levels, and overall well-being. Relationships include close ties with family and partners, as well as friendships and interactions with colleagues. The area of personal growth encompasses learning new things, developing skills, broadening horizons, and self-discovery. Finances involve not only current income, but also financial literacy, savings, investments, and overall financial security. In leisure, it's important to assess the quality of downtime, the presence of hobbies, and the ability to relax and recover. Living space includes both the physical environment, home, workspace, and the psychological comfort in these spaces. Spirituality reflects our values, meanings, inner harmony, and connection to something greater than ourselves. By evaluating each area on a 10-point scale, we get a visual picture of the current state of affairs. But the main value of this tool isn't in the numbers themselves, but in the insights that come during the assessment. Often people discover that the areas they focus on most aren't the most important to them, and vice versa. A striking example of the power of conscious acceptance of a situation can be found in Nelson Mandela's autobiography, Long walk to freedom. Even in a prison cell on Robben Island, he began each morning with an honest assessment of his position. In the darkest moments, I forced myself to face the truth. I told myself, yes, I'm in prison. Yes, I've been deprived of freedom, but my mind remains free, and that gives me the strength to move forward. This practice helped him not only maintain clarity of mind in captivity, but also develop a strategy that eventually led to the transformation of an entire country. After assessing all areas of life, the key moment comes: accepting the current situation. It's important to understand, acceptance is not resignation. Accepting the situation means recognizing the point on the map where you are now. It doesn't mean you have to stay there. On the contrary, a clear understanding of your position provides a solid ground for moving forward. It's like martial arts. Before making a move, the master fully understands their current position, and this awareness makes their actions effective. A simple yet effective way to practice acceptance is a daily 5-minute mindfulness practice. In a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, start with a few deep breaths. Then, note the facts of your current life situation, without evaluations or judgments, just as they are. Next, pay attention to your feelings about these facts, allowing them to be without trying to change them. Finally, determine what actions are available to you right now, at this point in your journey. And lastly, if some areas of your life are currently at a low level, it's not a verdict and doesn't define your worth as a person. It's merely a starting point for your journey to a better version of yourself. As they say in Eastern philosophy, no matter how far you've gone down the wrong path, you can always turn back. Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might help other members of our community find their path to acceptance and change. Step 2. Identifying true desires. Psychologists often encounter an interesting phenomenon. People achieve their set goals, but instead of joy and satisfaction, they feel disappointment and emptiness. In today's world, this phenomenon is becoming increasingly common. People get prestigious jobs, buy expensive cars, move into big houses, but they don't become happier. The reason lies in the fact that they pursue not their true goals, but those imposed by society, family, or their own ideas of how things should be. It's like using a navigator and entering someone else's address by mistake. You can perfectly follow the route, obey all the rules, but at the end of the journey, you're disappointed because you arrived somewhere you never really wanted to go. In life, such a mistake costs much more than lost time. Years spent achieving someone else's goals cannot be returned. Social expectations, disguised as personal desires, are particularly insidious. For example, a person may be convinced they want to become a lawyer because the profession is prestigious and well paid. But upon deep self-analysis, it turns out they're truly passionate about psychology and helping people. These genuine aspirations were simply suppressed by external expectations. Modern psychology offers an intriguing method for exploring your true desires. Imagine you have the opportunity to completely change your life with all the necessary resources at your disposal. The only condition is to use them only for what truly matters to you. The first answers often reflect social expectations, but if you continue the exploration, genuine priorities begin to emerge. It's important to distinguish between fleeting desires and deep aspirations. Fleeting desires are like waves on the ocean surface. They constantly change under the influence of external factors. Deep aspirations are like currents in the depths. They are more stable and connected to our fundamental values. An effective way to uncover your true desires is a mental journey into the future. Imagine yourself 10 years from now, living a life that brings deep satisfaction. It's important to immerse yourself in the details. How your day begins, what feelings you wake up with, what your daily life is filled with. What makes your eyes light up? What do you talk about with enthusiasm? What makes you feel truly alive? Interestingly, when doing this exercise, many discover that true happiness is often related not to material achievements, but to deeper aspects of life. The ability to create, help others, learn new things, and spend time with loved ones. These revelations can be a real eye-opener, especially if the person was previously focused solely on career or financial goals. Step 3. Overcoming the fear of change. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear offers an apt comparison. Our habits and comfort zones are like a thermostat that stubbornly maintains a set temperature. At the slightest deviation, the system automatically tries to return everything to its familiar state. This explains why even positive changes often trigger internal resistance. You can find a link to this book and other useful resources in the description below the video. Neurobiology explains this mechanism. When faced with the unknown, the brain activates the amygdala, an ancient structure responsible for the fight or flight response. This is a protective mechanism honed over millions of years of evolution. For our ancestors, any change could pose a potential threat, so the brain learned to automatically resist anything new and unfamiliar. In today's world, this reaction often becomes a barrier to growth. Psychologists have developed an effective way to bypass this protective reaction, the technique of microsteps. The essence is to break the desired change into such small steps that they don't trigger the brain's protective response. For example, if the goal is to start running in the mornings, the first step might be simply putting on workout clothes. The brain doesn't perceive this action as a threat. After all, you're just getting dressed. A week later, you can add the next microstep, stepping outside in your workout clothes. Another week later, add a 5-minute walk. This principle works with any changes. Want to start writing a book? Commit to writing 1 sentence a day. Aim for healthy eating? Add 1 healthy item to your usual diet. Dream of learning a new language? Start with 1 phrase a day. Another powerful tool is linking new actions to existing habits. It's like building a bridge. One pillar stands on the solid ground of an old habit, the other on new territory. Our brains already have stable neural connections for familiar actions, and we can use them as a foundation for forming new behavior patterns. Want to start meditating? Tie the practice to your morning coffee, beginning with 3 mindful breaths. Gradually, the new action becomes a natural extension of the familiar ritual. It's important to remember, fear of change isn't a sign of weakness or lack of motivation. It's the natural work of the brain's protective mechanisms trying to keep us safe. We can't completely eliminate this fear, but we can act despite it. Every small step strengthens our confidence and gradually resets our internal thermostat to a new comfort level. Step 4. Creating a supportive environment. Research in social psychology confirms ancient wisdom. Our environment profoundly influences our habits, mindset, and life outcomes. Moreover, modern neurobiology has discovered an astonishing fact. Our brains literally rewire under the influence of the people we regularly interact with. This phenomenon is called neural resonance. Our neural networks begin to operate in a similar rhythm to those around us. In creating a supportive environment, the quality of connections is critically important, not their quantity. It's like gardening. It's better to have a few strong, healthy plants than a whole bed of weak and wilting ones. One person who genuinely supports your growth can have a more profound impact than 100 random acquaintances on social media. Psychologists identify 3 key types of relationships necessary for successful change. The first is mental allies. These are people who have already walked the path of change you're beginning. Their experience is especially valuable because they know not just the theory, but the practical nuances of transformation. They can warn you about pitfalls, share effective strategies, and, most importantly, serve as living proof that change is possible. The second type is emotional anchors. These are people who create a safe space for you to be vulnerable, doubt, and make mistakes. They don't try to give advice or fix you. They're just present, accepting you wholly, with all your fears and uncertainties. Such unconditional support is especially important when your belief in yourself wanes. The third type is inspirers. These can be people you don't necessarily know personally, but whose achievements and lifestyle resonate with your aspirations. Their example shows that something greater is possible than what we typically consider real. They expand our understanding of what's possible. In the process of creating a supportive environment, it's important to remember the average of 5 effect. Our habits, level of ambition, and even our definitions of success tend to align with the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This doesn't mean you should sever old ties, but it's worth consciously expanding your circle to include people who inspire you to grow. Special attention should be paid to so-called energy vampires, people who, perhaps unknowingly, undermine your self-belief, devalue your aspirations, or constantly project a negative worldview. Often, such relationships disguise themselves as care or realism, but in reality, they hinder your development. Step 5. Developing emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is recognized in modern psychology as one of the key factors of psychological well-being. It's like a computer's operating system. No matter how powerful individual programs are, without a good operating system, they can't function effectively. Similarly, no matter how strong our professional skills or intellectual abilities are, without developed emotional intelligence, we can't fully realize them. Developing emotional intelligence begins with the basic skill of recognizing your emotions. It's like tuning a delicate musical instrument. First, we learn to distinguish the main notes, basic emotions like joy, sadness, anger, fear. Then we move on to more complex chords, mixed emotional states. Finally, we start to perceive the subtlest nuances of our emotional reactions. The next important skill is accepting emotions without judgment. In modern culture, there's an unspoken division of emotions into positive and negative. This creates a vicious cycle. We begin to feel ashamed of bad emotions and suppress them, which only increases emotional tension. It's important to understand that every emotion is a valuable signal carrying important information. Anger may indicate violated boundaries, fear may warn of danger, sadness may help process losses and learn from experiences. The third level is understanding the causes of your emotional reactions. Here it's helpful to develop the skill of an emotional detective. For example, if you feel irritation, ask yourself questions. What specifically triggered this reaction? Was there a similar situation in the past? What need of mine is unmet at the moment? Such analysis helps not only to better understand yourself, but also to choose more effective ways of responding. Developing emotional intelligence is an ongoing process, akin to learning a foreign language. Starting with simple phrases of recognizing basic emotions, we gradually expand our emotional vocabulary, learn to express our experiences more subtly, and better understand the emotional language of others. And as with language learning, regular practice is crucial. Daily attention to your emotional state and conscious living of your feelings. We recommend watching a detailed video about emotional intelligence on our channel. You'll find the link in the description. Step 6. Forming new habits. Research in behavioral psychology reveals an astonishing picture. About 95% of our daily actions are performed automatically at the level of habits. This can be compared to a software code. Our habits are programs that run automatically under certain conditions. Just like a bug in the code can disrupt the entire system, one destructive habit can undermine all our efforts at self-improvement. When forming a new habit, our brain goes through 3 successive phases, each with its own characteristics and requiring a specific approach. In the first phase, initiation, the brain actively expends energy on the new action. It's like blazing a trail through a dense forest. Every step requires effort. At this stage, external support and our reminder system are critically important, as our brain hasn't yet formed stable neural connections for new behavior. The second phase, repetition, is akin to trampling down that forest trail. With each pass, the path becomes a bit easier. Neuroscientists have discovered that during this period, active formation of new neural connections occurs in the brain. Interestingly, the speed of this process depends more on the regularity of actions than their intensity. It's better to do something a little bit every day than to have infrequent bursts of activity. In the third phase, automation, the new action becomes as natural as brushing your teeth or tying your shoelaces. The trail turns into a wide, well-trodden road that you can walk down almost without thinking. Interestingly, at this stage, the brain starts feeling discomfort from the absence of the habitual action rather than from performing it. Contrary to the popular myth of 21 days required to form a habit, modern research shows that this process is highly individual. The time it takes to form a new habit can range from several weeks to several months, depending on the complexity of the action and individual characteristics of the person. The key here isn't speed, but consistency of actions. For successful habit formation, Psychologists recommend using the principle of external anchors. These are specific triggers in the environment that initiate the desired behavior. For example, if you want to start practicing meditation, place a meditation cushion in a visible spot next to your bed. The sight of the cushion will remind you of your intention to meditate. Or if the goal is to read more, place a book next to your coffee cup so that your morning coffee becomes a trigger for reading. It's especially important to create a system of small victories. Our brain loves quick rewards, so every, even the smallest, success should be acknowledged. This could be a simple mark in a habit journal, a brief celebration, or any other pleasant ritual. Such positive reinforcement creates a strong connection between action and pleasure in the brain. Step 7. Regular reflection and course correction. The process of change can be compared to steering a sailboat in the ocean. Even a slight deviation from the course, if not noticed in time, can lead you far from your intended destination. In maritime navigation, there's a rule. The longer the journey, the more often you need to check the compass and map. Similarly, in the process of life changes, the more ambitious the goals, the more important regular reflection is. Effective reflection is built on the principle of concentric circles. In daily practice, we focus on specific actions and immediate results. In a weekly review, we look at the broader picture. What strategies are working? Where challenges arise? What can be improved? Monthly reflection allows us to see deeper patterns and trends, assess the overall direction of movement. It's especially important during reflection to pay attention not only to external results, but also to internal changes. How is your attitude toward the process changing? What new qualities are you discovering in yourself? What beliefs are transforming? Often, these internal shifts are precursors to significant external changes. In wrapping up our conversation, it's important to emphasize one key point. Transforming your life is not a linear process. It's more like a spiral, where each new turn elevates us to a higher level of self-understanding and awareness of our potential. Along this journey, there will be breakthroughs, setbacks, and periods of stagnation. All of this is normal and part of the natural growth process. Research shows that people who view the process of change as a journey rather than a sprint to the finish line achieve more sustainable results. They don't get discouraged by temporary setbacks and don't stop at their first successes. They understand that every experience, even what seems like a failure, is a valuable lesson that brings them closer to their goal. Remember, changes often happen subtly, much like the growth of a tree. We don't see it grow when we look at it every day, but after months, we notice how much taller and stronger it has become. Similarly, personal changes often become noticeable only when we look back and compare our current selves to our past selves. Consistently applying all 7 steps we've discussed today creates a solid foundation for long-term positive change. Each step is important, each contributes to the overall result. Awareness and acceptance of the current situation give us a starting point. Defining true desires sets the direction. Overcoming the fear of change releases energy to move forward. A supportive environment creates a favorable setting for growth. Developed emotional intelligence helps tackle challenges. Well-formed habits automate beneficial actions. And regular reflection allows us to adjust our course and recognize progress. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. This helps us create more quality content about self-improvement and psychology. Also, share it with anyone who might find it relevant right now. In the upcoming videos, we'll offer even more practical tools for positive change. Remember, each of us is capable of much more than we usually think. Sometimes you just need to take the first step and trust the process. See you in the next videos.